Hey guys, Bowie here, and this is things I learned with EG.Arteezy's PL in 7-Eleven. Before I start this video, just wanted to tell everyone that I'm streaming pretty much every day, be it playing or casting games. So if you're interested, follow me there to know when I'll be online. There's going to be another Pvgna giveaway at the end of the month, so by watching you can get crisps to participate, but more importantly, on the downtime of games, I'll be answering questions from viewers, and the best, most creative questions get extra crisps, so that's a great way to increase your chances of winning. In this video, we're going to analyze something I rarely do. We're going to talk about how to farm and create space at the same time. We're also going to talk about when it's okay to die. Let's compare two deaths in this game. The first death is Arteezy farming aggressively here. He's trying to zone Enigma out, kill his babies, and what happens is the Radiant punishes him with this rotation. The thing about this death is that it's between tier 1 and tier 2 of the enemy side of the map. So yes, Arthur dies, but the fact that the lane push was not even his fault. EG single pulls here, and he's also against an Enigma that will mess with the creep equilibrium anyways. And what ensues is a lane that Arthur cannot control, and he does his best to use those creeps to pressure Enigma. When he gets back, he asks his supports to go with him, and this is a great example of a bad death for 33 on Enigma. Not only the lane is pushing against him, this is catapult wave. Any decent Enigma player will try his best to deny the enemy catapult, but EG doesn't give him that option, and this is a death that has the potential to be punished. Arteezy also gets his Aquila as this happens, and notice how much damage they do to the tower. Arthur goes straight to the range creep, even tanks some tower hits to make sure the catapult will be healthy until the creeps arrive. He even pops Glyph, and the end result is what you see here. Crispy utilization of the catapult wave and great ganking timing by EG. Another thing to point out, and this is related to the entire game, Arteezy rarely farmed any jungle creeps, and after level 6, PL is quite decent at it. It's okay to jungle when you really want to finish an item or when you feel insanely pressured, but in this game, EG is doing fine and Arteezy smokes aggressively here with his teammate instead of farming. He won't have a meaningful power spike in a while, so farming, especially jungle camps, makes no sense. Look how since Arthur has Vision of Witch Doctor, he changes his mind about initiating, dodging the cask, and only then finishes Pvgna off. Arteezy already took the offlane tier 1 and doesn't have to finish any item, so he just stands around this area and farms the lanes. This rotation was also done in a great fashion because this is again close to trebuchet time. He quickly gets that tower while EG defends top. Pay attention how he keeps forcing the tower instead of rotating to the jungle. A lot of people still do that, and a lot of the times it's what holds them back. People are so afraid of dying that they would rather farm an efficient large camps while being low in HP that they forget most of the time that they are dying because they lose HP in the jungle and because the lanes are not pushed. The only time Arteezy farms jungle creeps is when the lane is too pushed towards the enemy tier 2 and a bounty rune spawn, so he can get it while he waits the lane to push back and farm some jungle camps. What you need to understand though is that farming the jungle is secondary. What he wants is lane creeps and tower and objectives, but he's doing the second best thing, which is getting gold whenever he can while being safe. Just an efficiency tip, since I mentioned being low in HP farming jungle, it is not acceptable that you as a Phantom Lancer is low in HP when you're farming. Micro your illusions and make sure not to be the one taking damage from any jungle camps. Because Arteezy was always playing that far forward, Radiant eventually punishes him, but look at his perspective. He spots Terrorblade going top and Gyro going forward, so for him there's most likely no chance he dies here since he has a ward. So he pressures that tier 2 as best as possible. Unfortunately though, the Malady clips him before Doppelganger, and CCNC ended up being there as well. You might think that this is a bad play. He should be finishing his Diffusal Blade in the large camp in the dire jungle. I completely disagree. While he was dealing damage to a tier 2, a lot of damage mind you, Terrorblade is top doing very little. Not only that, but with Optic showing their hand, EG can do the same, and the important factor to consider here is how much Arthur was able to achieve in comparison to the Terrorblade. Not only he has more farm, but he created way more impact. I'm also a big fan of how he buys his Diffusal Blade items, leaving the Robe of the Magi to complete it in the side shop, and there he goes to the bottom lane once again. With the item being so close, he wants to get it and use it as fast as possible, and no better spot than the enemy jungle for using it. Arthur does not disappoint. He finishes the Diffusal Blade in the side shop and pushes this very aggressively. Most of the time, you would think the Diffusal Blade is a timing to fight, but against Enigma in particular, it's very hard for Arteezy to fight with Black Hole being ready. His TP is also on cooldown, so he goes back to tower duty since it's 15 minutes in, and pay attention to how he plays this. CCNC shows up to hold the push, and by betting that there was no high ground ward on Radiant, he hides here. wasting a lot of Optic's time. He also waits the cooldown on Doppelganger before showing back into the lane and look in the minimap what Gyro has to do when he sees Arthur again. Arthur has vision of it, so he hides once again. You're probably wondering, well, Arthur could be farming so much more, why is he doing this? He's wasting time. Yes, you're right, he's wasting Optic's time. Since he is against good players, they are trying his best to stop Arthur from taking objectives, so he is wasting 1 core plus 2 supports worth of time while he is still farming lane creeps anyways, pretty much every single wave. If he was against bad players, then that tower would be done already and tier 3 would be super low. So he's either creating impact, be it directly or indirectly by wasting other people's time. He gets a glimpse of Witch Doctor, Enigma and then Gyro, and knowing that he's safe, just rinse and repeat. You can see that while he didn't farm as efficiently as humanly possible, he is still the highest net worth, and look at CCNC's farm. He's already behind and forced to waste time not getting anything out of it. He goes back to jungle until the lane pushes slightly and people live bot. With Black Hole on cooldown, note that Arteezy is interested in showing up, and instead of walking all the way there, he actually pushes 1 wave and waits until the fight is close enough to his shrine. He takes both Chen and Enigma down and doesn't go jungle or ancients. He transitions to the tier 1. After all, Fear has a dominated catapult, and look how much pressure they put until they decide to leave the lane. Gyro has to ult, and even Terrorblade needs to stop farming and show up. While Terrorblade was not achieving anything, Dire dealt tower damage. Stop thinking in terms of farm and think in terms of objectives. Arteezy decided to go bottom again, and note that he takes this path so that Optic doesn't know about it. But see how many creeps in the area he plain ignores? He makes sure to get a bounty rune and the point booster that he really wanted to get, and don't worry, we will talk about X. He can finally take bottom tier 2 as his team fights mid, and notice his rotation, straight up towards objectives. We can finally talk about X this game. The X build was never bad, but there are 2 things you need to know about the build in this particular game. The first one is that before, it was okay to literally rush the X because the talent that increased Spirit Lance damage was at level 10. Notice that Arthur sinks the talent choice and the item here to level 15, so he gets the Diffusal Blade first. In this game in particular, he is against a lot of units from Chen creeps to Terrorblade illusions to Eidolons. One of the biggest problems of the X build is that besides killing creep wave super fast, a lot of the times you don't see the difference in fights because of how close the units need to be for the X to work. This is definitely not a problem in this game. Also note that with the talent, 1 Spirit Lance will deal 1500 damage to a Terrorblade illusion, which means that for a decent part of this game, he will one-shot them, severely reducing Terrorblade's damage. Even PL that has an X, which means 400 extra HP, is 1600 HP right now. Not only the item is great at fights, it's also great at pushing because of the sheer amount of units in this game. The amount of units created in the fight also drains mana faster from the Terrorblade, and while he was able to ult here, the end result is a dominant win by Arteezy anyways. And they eventually get Aegis, and this just goes to show again how jungle farming is outdated and a lot of the times inefficient, unless you really have to. EG never tried to go high ground after all. They're against an Enigma plus Terrorblade plus Gyro, fight the scary defense, but Arthur as the big core that is hard to kill just kept farming top and mid, the entire time, never jungling. By farming those lanes as soon as the creep waves spawn, he accomplishes 2 things. The first one is that his team can farm the entirety of the map being safe, and the second one is that Optic is choking in their base. Look at the net worth difference before the Roshan kill, and while we talk with this sped up footage of the game, you might be wondering why he never bothered farming the jungle, since he has Aegis and could get even more farm. Well, while you could get maybe extra 100 GPM by farming Ancients and stuff, one of 2 things would happen. One of his friends would have to farm the lanes, and they are way less tanky and slippery than Arthur, so they could die, or the lanes would push, allowing Optic to get out of there, get solo pickoffs and farm better. By aggressively posturing around the map and having eggs, which means he farms those waves with insanely low commitment, Radiant has no place. Pay attention how Arthur gets constant base vision and harass with them. The one small drawback is mana usage, which PL cannot handle, so make sure to get clarities, and Arthur even gets mangoes. He does not want to give Optic an inch of farm, and this just increases the difference between both teams' net worths insanely. Instead of trying to increase your GPM at all costs, try to decrease a team net worth in all costs, and you will start seeing a lot of difference in your win rates. Since Arthur had a double damage and Aegis, when CCNC shows up here, look what he does. Optic tried their best to G-bait Arteezy, but he's just way too farmed. Notice how he doesn't get back to base. Besides farming jungle too much, going back to base when you need to assert dominance is another rookie mistake. His team has earned, his Aegis expires, so he's full HP again, and they keep on going. Black Hole is not on cooldown after all. A fight starts, nothing really happens. And notice that while he farms one jungle camp here, what he really wants is to get the clarity and buy one Skadi component. The jungle being there is just a coincidence and not an objective. He also ignores the medium camp and just focusing in pushing waves once again. Arteezy is insanely farmed here because he can farm those 2 waves that fast, and farming extra camps not only limits his team farm, but more importantly takes the focus away from Radiant's base and increases the chance that he get killed or picked off. If he could increase his GPM by 100 or 200, that would mean 1000 extra gold after 5 minutes of Aegis. Is that even worth it? He is already 6k gold ahead from the Terrorblade, and very often you can end up losing games because you're too farmed, taking away farm from your teammates. This game lasted for longer than I wanted to talk about, but hopefully this game goes to show how little ancient and jungle camps you need to farm to actually be effective and farm. Well guys, this ends up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I really need this to know whether the video was meaningful for you or not. This video is sponsored by Pvgna. They have a huge library of videos. All the tutorials are updated to 7.11, so if you want to get better at Dota, make sure to check the link in the description. And bye.